Dear Venerable Sister and the Dhamma friends, Sister, brothers and Dhamma friends, today also we are going to have another talk in the same series. So may you all settle down and give the consent with 3 times, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Yo chassa asaddo saddena yavatakanan saddena pattabbang na sampapuneyati. Dear Venerable Sister and Brothers, Dhamma friends, we have taken this Bodhiraja Kumara Sutta, whereby a discussion between a prince and a Buddha is happening, and they appear to be quite acquainted two figures. Or at the beginning, he listened to the story of the Buddha before he became Buddha as Buddha to be. And that also because of the prince's word telling that pleasure cannot be gained through the pleasure but through pain. The Buddha parallel to that, he says, that was the thing I was thinking at the beginning, so therefore I had 6 years self-mortification and keep on torturing the body or tormenting the body, and when it is happening he gained nothing, but he was happy that he went to the extreme of it. And at last he remembered the Bodhisattva as a prince of age 7 days old, and still he appreciated some jhanic factors and managed to come up to the absorption, and some miraculous concentration came. And during that time he had a wrong concept. This cannot be the path because it is so pleasurable. So that is why he, after become elderly person or young man, as 29 years old, he immediately selected this Attakilimatana Yoga or self-torturing system. And at the end, he remembered the young prince had this experience, so he wanted to test. Now he is little going against the basic idea, that is, pleasure cannot be gained through the pleasure, but through the pain. So after going to the one extreme of this self-mortification, then he take the pleasure, that is to say, when you sit comfortably, whenever you feel kind of thrills and frills and gladness and happiness, that also must be there in a balance. That is how the progress can happen in the mind. So Venerable came in the writing the way of Anapanasati. He says the Bodhisattva nearing the age 35 got the message from the young prince, his early days, whereby he had this samatha or concentration-wise happiness. Then he now going to consider in a positive way, and ultimately it gave a breakthrough, and he achieved the omniscient knowledge. And then he found it is very difficult to communicate that with the normal common beings, and that also very dramatic event. And ultimately he decided this group of 5 monks, and he explained them. They also really arguing with the Buddha, but later the Buddha managed to convince at least one senior most person, Kondanya. He ultimately realized whatever may be in the arising nature has the disappearing nature, and explaining that episode come to the conclusion. Then the prince is asking Bhante for a newcomer, when a person like you can come across, how long will it take for him to understand this, the relationship between the realization and the pain and pleasure? Instead of giving a direct answer, the Buddha is asking, are you a master on taming elephants or wielding the gourd and climbing an elephant and riding? He says, yes. Oh, now, you as a master, when a newcomer comes, how long will it take for you to train him to be a well mastered on this taming of elephants, and not giving just a question? Then the Buddha says, what will happen if that particular person he has no faith about what he is doing? Supposing that he is thinking elephant is a very big animal and very, very bewildered, and whatever the taming, whatever the ward, whatever the wielding system, that cannot be. So if he is with such a situation, whatever the skillfulness of the master, never going to work, because he considers he is very tiny fellow, elephant is big, and if I am to mishandle it, there should be a devastation. So under such circumstances, the Buddha says, if the particular person has no faith or the striving nature, what will happen? And if I am to jump another episode, when the prince says, that is enough, Bhante, whatever the qualities he is having, useless if he has no faith. So the last time, the last talk, we were just talking and we were just handling it, and that particular faith appears as a single term here. Many people try to define the faith thinking it is a dead and dry, cut and dry piece. But in the meditation, as yogis, we have to understand that very faith itself is evolving. It is metamorphosis. So the faith you need to be generous is one kind. And the faith you to restrain yourself in moral conduct is another type. It's much advanced. And then have the concentration restrainment, you have another kind of faith. And then when you go to the wisdom restrainment, sikha or control, you have another type. So when and where it is happening, if you are going to give up your endeavorance, you will never reach the goal, and therefore the initial opening balance itself is not what does it mean by the faith. It is evolving, and now we are talking about the five limbs of striving. Starting it with the faith, it is ending up with the wisdom. And when and where faith become reinforced, the faith become evolved, compared to that kind of a knowledge also has to come hand in hand. That is how the evolution happens. So that is why one has to understand, you can't understand this methodology lenient way. It is not lenient. Of course, we have to take one stand and keep, this is the faith, how it develops. But it has to go hand in hand with the wisdom, and therefore this striving has 4 or 5 facets or 5 limbs, 5 aspects. The first thing is the faith. So to continue from the last point we had last time, I try to share with you all what is the kind of a faith you need to develop the jhanic factors and to get the concentration. That is just the mere mindfulness or bare attention is not enough. The bare attention is the starting point. On that you have to learn the ways and means or art how to maintain this bare attention from thought moment to thought moment. So whenever it appears like a series of cognition, then you understand the one moment attention, awareness or mindfulness, we can bear attention. And that is nothing of your quality. It is your the endowment as a human being. It is there. Then what is the special nature? Why we have to emphasize this mindfulness is you never appreciate it. You never believe that kind of a bare attention can do such a big task. So therefore, first and foremost, you have to appreciate the available, endowed, bare attention, and then you go there. You can't comprehend it, you can't verify it, because it is happening only for one split second. Now from this bare attention, if you are going to do the continuity, that is almost like concentration. You have to have the series, then you have to see the bare attention you recognize must be contaminating or continuing with the next thought moment, next thought moment, next thought moment, the series of cognitive series with this mindfulness intact. When that happens, you can verify. That verification gives the discrimination between the mindfulness and the concentration. So it's a very, very, experiencing the mindfulness and the concentration is different thing, and verifying oneself, this is what does it mean by the mindfulness and continuity, or the momentum or the acceleration of the mindfulness is the concentration. It is a kind of a difficult thing unless otherwise you are well versed, unless otherwise you are literally understand book knowledge is available. So therefore when it is happening, the continuity going to definitely give an experience, that experience very difficult to put into words. So that is the point where the interviews are important, the discussions are important, and the teachers has to assimilate oppositions and ways and means to get the experience the newcomer comes, and because otherwise newcomer get completely lost. So when we are asking, when we are presenting these papers for the interviews, we say, can you advert or pinpoint your attention to this desired object? Then you have to say, object is this, yes or no. For example, if you take the sitting posture, can you be aware that you are with the sitting posture? Then you have to say, object is this is a sitting posture, I can for a split second go into the sitting posture. So that is the answer. To make it verified, it's a teacher would ask, what do you experience when your mind is with the sitting posture? You can see spellbound. They can't talk. They can't give the experience because that's a so intrinsic, so here and now, language can't give that. So the teacher has to understand, then teacher will say, okay, I understand you can't explain. Can you discriminate the sitting posture and the walking posture? Can you discriminate the sitting posture and the standing, sleeping? Then you can use the common language. Then you can say, in you are sitting, my touching points as such. Because in walking, my touching points as such. When I am standing, my touching points as such. And when I am lying down, so your definition of the sitting posture is always comparative to other cardinal postures or other minor postures. Now, if he or she is going to see the in-breath and out-breath, that also you have to make them talk, make them report what is the experience of in-breath, what is the experience of out-breath. That also, compare the in-breath, what is out-breath, compare the out-breath, what is the in-breath. So this is the crux of the teaching. Many do not consider meditation as such a technical thing. They consider by keep on observing, something will happen. And therefore they never divert the attention, they were advert the attention, and they don't feel it is my responsibility to share with the teacher what does I experience. So this is nowadays the communication. We are living in the communication age, but this link is ever a black box. In that sense only, I appreciate Venerable Upandita. That is his main subject. That is his main specialization. He finds ways and means to communicate with the newcomer, to pinpoint, this is my object, my mindfulness is there, yes or no. When it is yes, this is the experience. So these 3 steps indicates the faith you need for the moral restrainment. Not ask that kind of a thing, but the faith you need in the concentration training, restrainment or wisdom restrainment, definitely you must have. And out of these 2 also, Upandita said, he goes without saying, this method is more appealing to the vipassana or to the insight meditation, and therefore people biased with the samatha may or may not appreciate this kind of thing. But for my comment is, even for samatha, if you can explain, if you can communicate with the teacher with this kind of thing, the path will be very sweet and short. But I know this is very difficult area one to grasp. So if you are really serious, you have to understand this faith is something highly related with the wisdom, and you have to short to the point, and it must be short and sweet. So whenever someone understand it, how to explain the object, you have to say whether you noted or whether mind adverted into that or put into that, and then what do you experience. I will assure you, your whole communication in your life, whole communication with your society, whole communication with your body will be straightening, and then onward you can understand if this is not kept, what the kind of frivolous talks we have in day to day. Utterly frivolous talks, not to the point. So we are talking, but never communication takes place. So therefore this faith you have to define in such a technical way. When you go to vipassana, even the object is changing. If the mindfulness is continuing, you must be so sharp to tell, even my posture change, still I can be mindful. It is not a complaint, but it's the diversification of the mindfulness. And even the object is changing, still I can be mindful. Even the object is not appear, completely gone, my mind is the steadfast with the mindfulness. And if you can explain it, then you can see the communication ways are starting and your neurobics are working. Your nervous system is becoming so rejuvenated, but it is a kind of a brainstorming. Many people don't think meditation as such a dynamic thing. They think just by looking it will happen. So what ultimately happens is the wastage of time. So that is how you have to say, you have to have faith. That faith is not the initial faith, it must be improving. Then you can see more and more you become faithful and striving through, the knowledge become very sharp, delimiting, discriminative, short to the point. So this, during the time of the Buddha, there were a number of disciples, they were so sharp, so therefore they managed to grasp the method. And ultimately they try to propagate with the disciples. That is how it went there, and therefore this method or methodology is something telepathic. It is not limited to words. So you have to keep on practice. For that practice, imagine if you are a result-oriented person, utter failure. If you think that I practice 1 year, therefore I must have so much of results, instead I practice 10 years and therefore I must have results 10 times, that is the way you undermine the beauty of the practice. So therefore you have to understand this particular faith, at least on faith towards the vipassana, even the posture changed. You have to see possibilities, at least to see possibilities, mindfulness may not be distracted or disturbed. Even the object changed, even the object become intruding and distracting, even then you can see mindfulness sometimes may be shaken and again recovered. And if you can report it, I would say more than 50% of a meditation is true. But if you are making it as a complaint, so we feel sorry, can't help. So therefore this reporting has to be sharp, and you must understand we are beginners, we have to learn that. We are not born with that. Make sure very clear, we are not born with that. It is not a accidental kind of a knowledge. It is exactly someone has to tell, other person has to exactly learn, and then the communication, straightening of the line and power transmission takes place. Whenever the alignment happens, power transmission takes place. If the alignment is not there, don't expect that kind of a thing to happen luck by chance. So therefore it is a faith, yes, but this faith is verifiable faith. And you can see day by day how it is improving, and whatever the steps you have taken cannot be erased from your brain, cannot be erased from your memory. It's a one-way development. So much so, the Buddha says, if you develop it up to the beginning part of the vipassana, and if you you are met up with a very bad, very unfortunate death, and if you are completely bewildered, the Buddha says, even at the deathbed, that very mindfulness you develop, come in rescue, it will safeguard you. You will never go to the nether world, because during the time of your living, you have encountered that kind of a faith. Ultimately, the mindfulness itself will uplift you, and even in the next life, you can recollect, even at such a bewildered situation, how that I come to a better destiny. Then you can remember, in the last life, I had this kind of endeavorance and the faith. I developed the vipassana kind of faith that cannot be erased. So I can remember in 1979 or 80, Venerable Dhammika told me, whatever the merits, whatever the skillful you accrued, it can be erased and null and void after the death. But if you develop the skillfulness in the mindfulness, that will never lose, even such an unpredictable kind of a bewildered death, it will take care. So I was thinking how only this mindfulness can go through the death, not the other merits can't. Still I am trying to prove it, still I am experimenting with it. Whatever the ways and means I try to understand, even the posture changed, mindfulness never changed. Even if it is changed, easily you can reinstall. Even the objects are disturbing, you must not get disturbed. You must understand mindfulness can maintain, and your prime duty is to reinstall the mindfulness and report it. Whenever you are reporting, you see it's miraculous. It is more than human thinking. And it is not in a gradual process, it is very scientific, it is nothing miraculous. But you are the very person to observe it, and you have to look the situation not in a destructive way. You have to think in the constructive way, positive way. Then you won't believe the strength of your very mindfulness. Only the Buddha believe. You never believe because you have never put into the test, put into practice. So therefore do it before you become too old. Do it before you become too sick. Don't do it before your deathbed. And that is why the Buddha says, the second, if you are with much illness, you can't do it. Appa bado hoti, appa tanko, samavepakinya gahaniya samannagato hoti, nati sitaya, nachunnaya, majjimaya, padanakkamaya. Then if you to maintain that kind of a faith, you must be not afflicted with much illness. You must have the fair health. So therefore it is somewhat spiritual. Your health and your mental and physical balance is something related, and not that you can be with the complete health, healthy body and the mind. No, it is not possible on this earth. But you must understand, when you are facilitating your meditative life, not only sitting cross-legged in the meditation hall, going to give the full answer. Not only go and sit the walking meditation, going to give them the answer. You must concern about your food. You must be concerned about your postures. You must be concerned about the climatic changes. And everything, you must be very alert. Then only you can have this body fairly cope up with the cold and the heat, and whatever you eat must have a fair amount of digestion power and tolerance. So therefore, when and where meditation is going on, the group health and the individual health and the mental and physical health, everything matters. So as far as the life cycle is concerned, first 1/3, fairly we are healthy. The second one, you know the disease you are going to die. At 50s you know with what death I am going to die. So then onward you are so much frightened, and then you chasing behind the churches and temples and around the Bodhi trees and so much of work, because you know now you have diabetes and you have the cholesterol and you have the heart failure. So then onward you are motivated not with healthy movement, healthy motivation. It's full of fear. Even then no harm if you are come here rather than doing also already wrong things. But the thing is, imagine if you can get this message in the early part of your life, whenever the vigor is there, but you can see how ambiguity, what a contradictory in the world. When you see the younger generation, what is happening? And where these politicians are leading them, where these advertisements are leading them, where these media are leading them, where these educationists are leading them, where these the health system is leading them. Utter misleading. Because otherwise, if they are healthy, they can't make money. So they have to keep them under stress. They should have certain amount of diseases, otherwise you can't tax the fellow. And they are very bewildered if you are healthy. So therefore, the Buddha gives the second aspect of these 5 limbs of striving. You must be a healthy person. But it is not luck by chance. You have to consider others' health. Help other people as much as possible. Unreserved way. Give the health. Don't do any kind of a harmful thought or harmful deed or harmful word. So if you are sharing with them, in return, you also can see the helping, attending the sick people, weak people. We have enough in the world. And you must always think about whatever the person who in need, you are the person to help. Don't expect organizations to come. Don't expect the relevant people to come. Attend it as much as possible. Ultimately, your very vigilance, your very awareness, the world is full of sickness. Everything is not supporting, so therefore don't expect the perfect health. But to keep above average health is a miraculous thing. And more and more the globe becomes warm, and it is filthy, and it is exploit. And if you do not have the equal sharing of wealth among the members, it's an utter sick economy. It's the capitalist system. So whatever the richness you gathered, will not give the healthy thinking. So therefore always you have to think about the sharing with the people and helping the sick people, weak people. So that kind of thing appear like in the present day society, wastage of time. So they are always with the one-upmanship and ultimately chasing behind. So therefore you ultimately end up with such a sick mind as well as the sick body. So under such circumstances, very difficult to tame an elephant. Simply. And very difficult to cope up with this enormous task of this endeavorance. So therefore you must have this healthy mind. So whenever someone is go in pursuit, support it. Because their health is my health. So that kind of a thing, whenever monk life or renunciated life, 1/4 is getting proper medicine. 4 requisites are there. 1/4 is medicine. Before my ordination, it happened me to meet one of the very senior monks at that time, Venerable Balangoda Ananda Maitreya, and I was in 1988. So he was almost 88 years old, and when we were there, he was fairly elderly person, but maybe I am unfair. I had an interview with him for 3 hours. Talking, because I am almost about to become a monk, and I asked all the questions. Then he came out with the idea. He says, now the world is going to jump from this orbit, and there is a big shifting, and there are huge earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and everything will happen. Only 1/3 of the people will be remaining, all the others will be destroyed. There may be a war among China and America, and what is happening to the Middle East, and all the things were predicted. And I was listening, I had no any clue about that. Then I told Bhante, why you are telling me? I am just a citizen John. You have to go and tell the president of the country. Who am I to make any decision? Then elderly fellow, he told, you at least enough time to listen to me. These people have no even time to listen. Leaders, they never listen. Then I told, leave aside the country, leave aside the human being. What is message to me? Such a thing going to happen, and I am going to become a monk. I was not telling any person, but I told him directly. Then he says, you must keep 3 things in your mind. Don't take any medicine, try to balance with the food. Your food must be the medicine. If you are taking any medicine, you are committing suicide. Second thing is, walk barefoot, don't use any other gadgets. So walk enough for the day, and that is a way to keep the health. And the third one, don't shout at the unfair situation in the society. You keep your mind contented. You can see lot of unfair things. Uneven thing happens, but don't waste your time. These are going to happen in thousands and thousands. Just keep your mind contented. So if you keep these 3, you will be a person who is remaining. Others people do not know how to maintain the body without medicine. I call allopathic medicine I am talking about. Allopathic medicine is a poison. The second thing is, if you are depending so much of the equipment, and if you do not know how to walk, how to work with your hands, how to deal with others' problems, then you become a slave. You try to press the button and get the thing done. So that will not work. When the paradigm shifted, everything gone. And the last one is, when the unfair thing happen in front of your eyes, just behave like you have not seen. Even such a thing hearing, don't boil your blood. Just behave like a deaf. Even if you have the muscle power, behave like a person with the back pain. Don't react. And live like a dead body. But the world is full of unfair things. So I came and immediately I wrote it down. I was in Nilambe. I tried to share with as much as possible. And I try to keep it up. So when I meet Venerable Jnanarama, I found he's 80 years old, 88 years old, and I found fairly maintaining his health. All the other monks are sick. One day at 6 o'clock, we went to the Vandana. I took with the oil lamp and he lit it. And when I'm going there, he told, we have 23 monks, 11 monks are sick, including me. All are sick. This is like a ward in the hospital. Now go to any monastery. It's a hospital ward. They are claiming this disease, that disease, because they never exert. They just brood. They don't know that meditation is working. It's a work meditation. Just go into the cave and keep your closed eyes and cross-legged and keep hand upon hand. Won't give much. You must understand how to keep the health. So therefore they say, no, we are not supposed to do something. People must come and give food, people must come and give the robes, and they must come and give the dwellings, and they must give the medicine. We are to meditate. No. If it is so, it's 1/5 of these facets of the striving. You must maintain the health. Not only that, you have to take the community health also. So therefore, maintaining your body, 4 postures, balance of the food, and coping up with the climate, I call it's a body knowledge. If you do not understand your body, you ask your doctor to understand your body. If you do not understand your economy, you will ask the economists to come and help you, the bankers. And if you do not the law of the nature, you will ask the lawyer to come and do. Do you think that they come for your well-being? Never. They are professionals. They don't know how to exploit you. So therefore, if you know your body, if you live with your body, if your body is your best friend, then the body language, and you can predict other person also if you have your body language. Even you can predict a tree, what the tree is telling. Because everyone is depending on the 4 elements based upon this climate and everything. So that understanding, so imagine the way the Buddha facilitated this present day medicine. Jivaka, the royal physician, it's a novelty product of the Buddha. Before, the medicine and other thing will be not selected as prestigious because it is disturbing the caste system. So that is how the Buddha says that Besajja Kandaka in the Vinaya Pitaka, the thick book talking about each and every disease, what are the medicine you have to take. It's a herbal medicine. And it appears like contradictory because you're supposed to give up everything, but as far as the health is concerned, Besajja Kandaka is there. And now people are really go through the pages and see how applicable these things, specifically the herbal medicine. And it is, you must understand the environment, you must understand the climate, and you must understand the herbs in the society you are living, in the premises you are living. So don't expect the pills and all the injections to come from the foreign countries. They are not telling with your the body temperament. So it has to be herbal medicine. So I am not going to talk much about that, but I am telling, I am finding fault with you people. You don't know how to make the friendship with the body. You don't know how to sit comfortably. You don't know how to walk balance. You don't know how to sleep when you are sleeping. So you think that the yogi master come and make your body. And the physician has to come and select your feeding. More than your original knowledge on the body knowledge, we are at utter lost. So therefore, try to listen to all the messages from the body, and then you can understand. Body never fall into sick accidentally. Never. It always sending messages. If you are mindful, you can understand. This is the way sincere. The present day, everyone suspect others. You can easily remember go back to the 5-10 years before, when the civil war is there against the Tamils, so much of unpredictability, so much of fear. Traveling and eating, everyone is suspicious. So much of money we spent on the security. And still we can't release. Still we can't release. Some people say, again the terrorism can happen, so therefore budget 40% must go for the defense. The America and the Western countries spending so much of money on defense. Do you think it is for your defense? I am sorry. That is to develop new germs and put into you. It's really using this for the conspiracy so that you are under the stress. So therefore that one, now it is internalized. Whenever the breath happens, for example, whenever you are following the breath, if the rising and falling happen, you are suspicious. You don't know what to do. When we are walking, if the breath appears, then it becomes suspicious. You don't know, is it a good or bad? Whenever you are walking, is sight going to happen? You think, finished. My precepts are broken, my mindfulness is broken, so Bhante, where can I repair it? And what a kind of a crime, because while walking I saw something. We have no sympathy. We have no open-mindedness. And because you never let the strange thing to happen, still experimenting, because of this, the lack of honesty, sincerity, and when you come back to the child psychology, we are very honest. They are very, very sincere. So therefore, if you are to teach them, very easy, maybe. But the thing is, they never advert their mind to the religious aspect or in the mindfulness. So that is why now people are trying and experimenting. How is the introducing mindfulness to the younger generation? It may be few weeks ago, His Holiness Dalai Lama mentioned, if you can teach the meditation the 8 years old children, tomorrow there won't be any world war. If you can teach the younger generation at the age 8, the meditation, you have to nothing to spend money on the world war. But every government is expecting a world war, where then only they can make business. So that is now individual level. So therefore, whenever you are doing vipassana, whenever you are believing only mindfulness, not the concentration, not the wisdom, then you can say, even you change your posture, mindfulness nothing to suspect, nothing to entertain doubts. Only you have to understand is, after the changing the posture, can I still be mindful? Instead of suspicious or guilty. And if you're going to feel that guilt is your moral responsibility, what a foolishness. Because it is not constructive. Instead you have to say, yes, I sit here not to change my posture, but due to this and that effect, it happened me to change, yes. Now after change, the posture, still can I be mindful? Either on the posture or either be on the in-breath and out-breath. Then you may understand. If you look at it in the positive way, yes. If you look at it in the negative way, the doubtful way, fearful way, uncertain way, definitely you will curse yourself. So, who the second person involved in that? So therefore, when in the meditation, of course not for the beginners has to be very, very lenient, they have to keep again and again on the same object, because at the early part of your meditation, the concentration is a must. So therefore you try to be friendly, be face to face and long with the primary object as much as possible. Once that is developed, once to certain extent, how much it is a big question for the Samatha people and the Vipassana people, or concentration bias people and the insight bias people. But after a while, if you have no Asatta Mayavi, is not dishonest or is not sincere, but instead ready to practice, ready to experiment with, ready to go for radical way, you can let the mindfulness to lead it, and even the distractions happen, even the posture changing happen, if anything happen, you will never regret about what happened. Instead, you will see how quickly I can reinstall mindfulness, and now with the reinstalled mindfulness, what is the difference between the early mindfulness and the new mindfulness in the primary object, with respect to the primary object, with respect to the posture, with respect to any kind of changes, then only you can see. If you believe, mindfulness appear like continuous. If you disbelieve, mindfulness appear like distracted. So this part only you can verify by repetitive practice, and I would repeat in this way, by repetitive mistakes. More mistakes happen if you look at in a positive way. Mistakes means not the mistake you have done, it's a mistakes happen to you. If you look at it in the honest way, straightforward way, I mean without entertaining doubts, without imposing uncertainty and fearfulness, and observe, that is the kind of brevity, it's a kind of the heroic way you have to introduce it. And I found it is very easy to communicate this idea in the children. And if you ask, even after distraction, how quickly you can go back to the primary object, what is the way back home from the distraction, they are very happily introducing. They don't feel regret. But the moralistic people with the morality, and they are self-cursing kind of people, they are utter worried about any changes happen. These changes are not done by you. It is not intentional. It is not willful thing, volitional thing. Even things happen. If you are entertaining doubts, then you ever end up with the charge sheet and the complaints at the end of the sitting meditation or walking meditation. But instead try to be very honest and very sincere, not to the other mental aspect, but to the mindfulness. This is the only sincere mental factor Venerable Jnanaponika has written on the power of mindfulness. It's very, very credible. It never betray you. Faith may or may not be. The energy may or may not be. Concentration may or may not be. Wisdom may or may not be. But the mindfulness, if you trust it, never mistrust it. If you place the trust upon the mindfulness, whatever you do, no much of friction, you find the least frictional path and the comfort zone very easy. But the thing is, instead of mindfulness, many chasing behind the concentration. Many chasing behind the wisdom. Without fulfilling the causes, if you are going to expect results, it's utter disappointment. So therefore, be honest to the mindfulness. Be sincere to the mindfulness. So in my personal life, I say, Buddhism, or the teaching of the Buddha, in the say Buddha Dhamma, is for meditation. The meditation means, for me, vipassana. Vipassana means mindfulness. So I reduce by 3 stages whole teaching of the Buddha into the simple mindfulness. So many people, they are not happy with me because I am too much simplifying it. It's a simplification into the mindfulness. So, but when I was in Panditaram about 3-4 years, Pandita Sayadaw always try to say, the everything, nutshell, put into nutshell, that is appamada, the diligence, and he keep on giving talks. But when I open the Dasuttara Sutta, and there it says, Eko Dhammo Bahukaro Appamado. But the most helpful Dhamma, helpful one thing, is diligence, is mindfulness. But when you compare the Buddhism at large in the society and the mindfulness, they appear like the polar apart. If you take 100%, 100 people of the Buddhist and ask, what is the crux of the teaching of the Buddha? And what is the aspect you must be diligently and facilitate? I doubt even 1% will nominate the mindfulness as the main thing. Not only that, even if you're going to teach, it happened to me. I was protesting and going against the teacher, telling, no, the mindfulness is not much important. Important thing is the faith. Important thing is the energy, the concentration and the wisdom. But 8 years, more than 8 years, it happened him to, Venerable Dhammika, to teach me, never mind, even if you have not faith, never mind, energy, never mind, concentration, never mind, wisdom, try to be mindful, be honest to mindfulness, be sincere to mindfulness. No challenge. So therefore, when you are practicing, when you are reporting specifically, be honest to mindfulness, be sincere to mindfulness, look the situation, look the change through mindfulness. Even it happened you to change the posture, don't worry about whether you are on the lotus posture, half lotus or quarter lotus. That is not the important. When you are changing, when you are shifting in the posture junctions, how much the mindfulness intact. And before and after, how much you are counting, how much you keep bookkeeping for the mindfulness. And thundering happens, rain happens, coughing happens, sounds happen, pain happens. Don't ask how to stop that. If you wish to have a mechanism to have how to stop the thundering, no way. Just like, what is the mechanism to stop thinking? No way. Only the question is, what is the impact of thinking on the mindfulness? So to say, before thinking, if you are with the primary object, how is the primary object? Now the thinking came and it disturbed. And after thinking, if you are calm enough, honest enough, sincere enough to again look at the primary object and say, now, oh great, thinking came and distracted you, and now what is the fresh look on the primary object? What is the difference? The day you explain it, you are through. So therefore, the honesty and the sincerity, asata amayavi, is completely changed in the posture junction. When the in-breath changes to the out-breath, when the out-breath changes into the in-breath, this is the crux. This is the point you must be unshaken. Don't worry about the in-breath to out-breath, but be aware of the mindfulness. When the in-breath, out-breath changing happens, or end of the in-breath, just see, when this shifting happens, what is the impact on the mindfulness. When the cessation of the out-breath happens, keep on observing. And then you can see how much it is cheating, how much the black box, how much the shifting from one to the other. Ultimately, if you are bewildered, you will never calm and collected to see the shifting. And that is why the Buddha says, the mind, the consciousness is a magician. When the magicians are working, you can see how you camouflage you, one to the other. So if you look at, in the point where the camouflage, you can't see a magic. It's just cheating. Magic is a cheating. You are paying money for a cheater. You are bloody fool. Because you are not looking at the magic. You are appreciating the magician. So exactly the way, when something happening from one to the other, the shifting happen, changing happen, try to be composed and observe it, what is happening. Nothing happens. Even from one to the other. So if you have that kind of a consistency, when the posture junctions are happening, always you say, mindful distracted, I fall into sleep, I feel like in slumber, I feel like in the no object like, so lost. No, this is the point where the middle path is lying. So if you, after so much of trial and error, whenever such a going thing happen, if you can observe That is the basic way is go prepared for that changes. Go prepared with this shifting of the postures, that's called posture junctions. And if you are with the confirmed mind telling that the permanent notion, each and every change will be a challenge or charge sheet. But if you go with the impermanent notion, things can happen. Your main idea is to how to ride a wave. Waves are there. So when that is happening, it's not only for the mindfulness and the the meditation, even for in the day-to-day activities, if you have to be a good manager, you must understand when the posture junction and thing happen, how to keep your integrity, the maintenance. So therefore, this honesty and the sincerity, you can understand in the question and answers, in the writing the interview reports. Sometimes I used to say, whenever someone is entertaining doubts, whether Bhante I am in the samatha or vipassana, whether I am progressing or I am regressing, then if the person is advanced, I will ask, where does this question come? Is it due to your desire? Is it due to your conceit? Or is it due to your egocentric idea? From where that this question happen? Meditation is happening, but mind is entertaining doubts. And that the worst thing is, that particular person think that kind of doubts is coming out of the inquiring mind. They misunderstand this as the wisdom. Then they are, instead of getting rid of or disclaim or disavow, they entertain doubts. This is how you are misleading the simplicity of the meditation. So therefore, the Upanishad Sayadaw used to say, whenever your sessions happens, if at the beginning it is mindful, and after middle episode, again if it is mindful, any thing happen in between the middle become null and void. No defilements. So therefore make sure at the beginning you are mindful, at the end you are mindful. If it is so, middle area, don't worry. And if you are, even after the episode, if you are worried about what happened there and have I thought it, or it is something happened to me, it's a volitional kind of thing, ever you are regretting, but never you are fresh to the next moment. If you wish to be fresh to the next moment, forgive and forget about that and be aware of the next moment. So Venerable Sariputta is putting it in the a different way. He says, Pamade na kampatiti sati balang. You maybe fall into negligence, pamada, but don't regret. Try to reinstall mindfulness whenever you get the next moment. If it is so, this is not simple mindfulness, this is a power of mindfulness. And instead if you think, no, I have to make a post-mortem about what happened and regretting and it is my moral responsibility life, that is come under the dishonest. You are not honest to mindfulness. You are not sincere to mindfulness. Keep the track with the mindfulness. And ultimately when the mindfulness come up to a certain strength, the wisdom arises. Just like when the war finishes, the economy arises. When the country is engaged in the war, there cannot be any economic progress. So first you have to do away. So therefore you have to be very sincere, very honest with the mindfulness and look the meditation, look report, interview report through the mindfulness. Then you will see your whole mistakes, early mistakes are the landmarks to say, yes, it is mindfulness disturbed, but somehow or the other I try to maintain the unbroken relationship or continuity even with some weaknesses. So one day you will understand, you have to make sure that throughout the day, right from the beginning and to the last moment of your sleeping, how much you can keep the accounts for, continuity of the mindfulness, and that indicates how much you have progressed. Not that very deep mindfulness and go into the jhanic experience and the vipassana jnana. That can happen for a split second, but how much you can keep the breadth of the mindfulness, not the depth of the mindfulness. So in the sense, depth and the breadth must be balanced. In order to have this breadth, to apply mindfulness in day-to-day activities, apply mindfulness in the socializing situation, or after mindfulness when the distractions happen, if you have very sincerity and the honesty to keep the mindfulness, one day you will accept that word of the Buddha, Satadipateya Sabbe Dhamma. Whatever thing happens, mindfulness take the leadership, whether you believe it or not. So therefore, if you are dishonest, even the mindfulness intact, you will report it as is mindfulness distracted. Then you are utterly at lost, double negative. But if you are looking at it, even the posture changes happen, distractions happen, mindfulness intact, that kind of a viewpoint is going to give a boosting kind of a catalytic effect. You become a new person to look at the situation in the constructive way and to reinstall the mindfulness. So therefore, this the honesty and the sincerity don't consider as a personal humiliation, don't consider as the criticizing about self, but this is the way it is working. So therefore, when and where the mindfulness happens, the straightening going to take place. You simply thanks people, those who are helping. You simply says, no, it is not. But instead, if you are going to gloss over, due to the diplomacy and kind of thing, and when you are the bloody fool, get cheated. So in the meditation, you are not going to greet good morning, good evening, nonsense. Each morning is good if you are meditating. If it is not just saying good morning and sending the Christmas cards and Happy New Year, Happy Vesak, unwanted things. These things are not in the meditation circle. One person came from America, and when it's walking, he went to the Sayadaw and said, Sayadaw, good morning. And Sayadaw never answered. And in the interviews, he asked, when you were greeting me, where was your mind? Are you mindful? Did you come from 12,500 miles to send me good morning? Mind your own business. And when we are walking on the Pindapata, in a queue, he come and stand side by like a major. So some people bow down. He says, why you are doing that? You are not supposed to do. You are walking. You go to your place. Don't pay respect to me. That is not the way. My paying respect is write a good interview report. Meditate it in timely. The personal, not necessary. So likewise, it's going against this ism, Buddhism. And the Dhamma become very clear and exactly the way Sayadaw is responding. If someone is really meditating, he never expect any gifts. He never expect come and veneration. He says, this is the way. That he is the only person helping the dispensation. So in our day-to-day life, what a kind of cheating. What a way of diplomacy, etiquettes. And ultimately at the end, you are the person get exhausted. But in meditation, try to be short to the point, short and sweet. And then you may find enough time, enough energy available. So therefore, when and where this wisdom with respect to the inside meditation comes, your new ways, new windows, new channels are opening. Unless otherwise you have the co-practitioner, you will be considered as mad. Only when the co-practitioners are there, when sharing happens, you feel the dispensation. Otherwise people make ism out of that. So that is because lack of honesty, lack of sincerity. I am not finding fault with the people. I am telling they are not honest to mindfulness. They are not sincere to the mindfulness. So don't find fault with others, but try to be honest and sincere from sitting position from beginning to the end. Walking position from beginning to the end. Whole day from the beginning to the end. if you feel you are more and more responsible and more fostering to the mindfulness, not that it is the end, but that is the maximum you can do. And if you are fulfilling that course, definitely your desired results will be assimilated in no time. So with that remark, I would like to sum up the today's talk, and we have two more aspects or limbs to be dealt. So we will take in time to come to lead it, and that is not the end of the discourse, but this is a very important episode in this dialogue, and so therefore try to be healthy, try to be honest and sincere to the mindfulness, and may go parallel with your faith, and they have some kind of a interrelationships. So it is up to you to explore into that. So shall we sum up the today talks with that? Thank you very much for listening.